PADI professionals still need to know how to use the RDP and the ERDP-ML, despite the fact that in today's world, new divers are more likely to learn how to use a computer to monitor the absorption and the release of nitrogen. Now, this first video concentrates only on the type of questions that you'll find regarding the background and the design of the RDP. I'll start with some of the questions here, and then I'm going to give you some really good news that you'll like. Because you're going to find questions about what you should do if you exceed your no decompression limit for more than or less than 5 minutes. There's questions about how many hours you need to wait before you can fly after diving. There's questions about altitude diving. There's questions about WXYZ rules. And there might be a question on what to do if you accidentally dive deeper than 40 meters. But let's go back to the WXYZ rules just for a moment. We know that if you end up in these high pressure groups, there are special rules that you need to follow. But this is interesting. Let's look at the table just for a moment. You can only get in these high groups by diving shallow. Look, it's only by diving to 18 meters or 60 feet or shallower that you can get into these groups. If you dive deep, you can only get into pressure groups of F or G. It just goes to show that it's time and not depth that fills up your slow tissues. And now the good news is that all of the answers to those questions can be found on your tables. On the table, they're here. And let's look at the ERDP-ML. If you look at the tabs on the top and click on the Rules tab, here you'll find the answers to all emergency decompression questions. Here you'll find all information about flying after diving. And here you'll find answers to the diving at altitude. And here you'll find out about WXYZ rules. Oh, and make sure that you keep these WXYZ rules in your mind for later in the exam when you're asked to plan a minimum surface interval question over a series of dives. You'll definitely get at least one question where you'll find yourself in the WXY or Z pressure group. And although the ERDP-ML will allow you to carry on after giving a warning, it still could lead you to giving the wrong answer. And lastly, here you'll find out what to do if you accidentally dive deeper than 40 meters. So to get back to planning, you just need to click on the Rules tab again. Let's move on to some more popular questions. I don't think that there is a PADI exam paper anywhere that doesn't have questions about how many tissue compartments were used to form the RDP. There's 14. Now, different tissues in our body absorb nitrogen at different rates. The older military tables, like the US Navy tables, was based on 6 compartments. So you definitely need to remember that there are 14 tissue compartments for the RDP and 6 tissue compartments for the US Navy tables. Now, the RDP is designed for recreational divers. The surface is never a no-go area. There's no decompression diving. Of course, military divers, they need to go deeper for longer in order to get their jobs done. Nitrogen can then really build up in their slow tissues. This all affects the amount of time that we as divers need to spend on the surface in between dives. So here we go to answers to more typical PADI questions. The RDP surface interval credit table is based on a tissue compartment of 60 minutes, while the US Navy military table is based on a much slower tissue compartment of 120 minutes. There are 2 advantages that this faster tissue compartment has for RDP users. 1 is shorter surface intervals and 2 is longer repetitive dives. So there we go. In the next video, I'm going to show you some tips on how to use the RDP and the ERDP-ML. But before then, as usual, I've put some questions about the design of the RDP in the next lesson. So good luck with those questions, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.